what relationships do you think that we can capitalize on to sell sponsorships? How do we know who to ask and what relationships? Where will we find them?
Wherever the clubs are and the area that the clubs are, there are lots of businesses that are around where clubs, not only where the clubs are, but where we work. Start with the company you are working for. That's the first place.
I'm sorry, say that again. Where should we start?
With the company that you work for. Imagine if we all go in relation to sponsorships, because that's what we're really here to talk about too. If each of us go and ask whoever is a decision maker, get them to buy in and let them know that, think of the exposure that company's going to get. And when Beth shows you that book of how many, and someone will at least tell us how many people attend those conferences, the company, start there. If you start there, that's the biggest start.
Excellent. Does anybody have anything to add on to that? Oh, you have your phone on you?
Mm-hmm.
Pull that out.
Why?
Because we talked about that.
Why? What can I do with my phone?
I don't know. What do you think you can do with your phone?
Look at my contacts?
Yeah, maybe.
I might find some people in here that would want a sponsorship though.
I know. So just share.
Just looking at my contacts here, I think there's over 300 contacts in here. And everybody can do the same thing and pull out their phone and just start scrolling through and looking for small business owners. Would be a good one to start with. Maybe you don't have a lot of small business owners in your cell phone, but you still have a lot of contacts. Can you still get referred to some of those businesses? Yeah. If you know what kind of businesses that you're going after. And I think that's where it's really important to identify who do you want to work with first. And that's why the reason I like that you're saying go to the people that you work with first. I'm still a new Toastmaster. I'm catching my ums.
And what, 2 months?
I think so.
2 months.
3 months. Like that.
Okay.
What was the last thing I just said?
About contacts and going to people that you know.
Go to the people that you know. If you know what kind of business that you're targeting, calling somebody that you know and asking them, who do you know that runs this kind of business, is a great way to get introduced to them. And what if it would be even better if they endorsed you and said, hey, by the way, my friend Matthew, I hope you don't mind, but I gave him your contact information. He's going to call you just to talk about a Toastmasters opportunity. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. But at the very least, it'll be a nice phone call for you. You'll learn something.
I wonder if it just based on what you said, this popped in my head. I don't know if y'all have ever done this, but I wonder if there could be like a challenge. If there are 2 or 3 companies or there's branches of something that, a challenge of who can buy the most ads or who can buy a table or I don't know, that just popped in my head. Jared, yeah, exactly.
Sales competitions.
I'm competitive. I like that kind. Yeah, I'm competitive.
Big.
But Jared, I want to ask you something. What is your idea, or what is your advice about getting over the fear of asking? People who are not in sales, it's scary to ask somebody to buy something or join something. What is your advice on recognizing and getting over that fear?
There is a expression that I heard in my first year, or it was more of like an analogy. It was like the scales, and you're thinking, which side is heavier? Is it the fear of rejection, or is it the fear of if I don't go out there and put my reps in and deal with the rejection? And usually, if you don't go out there and sell, produce, work with people, that affects your income negatively, and your stress levels go through the roof. And that is way worse than somebody maybe being a little bit rude to you. The comical side of me likes to say, what's the worst thing they're going to do? They can't assault me over the phone. If I go in and talk to a business owner, sometimes, if they have a no soliciting sign, and I thought, oh, so sorry, I thought it said no smoking, and they got upset, then generally, you walk in there with a smile and you're confident, people are usually friendly, but you should just, if they say no thanks, then you just move on to the next person. I think what helps with that process is being competent, being well-trained in what you're trying to provide, and the big thing that we haven't touched on yet, because it's kind of in the weeds, is pre-qualifying. Making sure that the people that you are approaching are in a good position to be a good audience.
Mhm.
So I like to believe that you can never really be too prepared, and that rejection is far less hurtful than inaction.
Cool.
'Cause
I like that, that's
the-
good. Y'all write that down, that's tweetable, that's tweetable, okay, very good.
Tweetable one.
Exactly, so that kind of goes back to knowing your product and believing, having the buy-in to your product. I'm sure as far as Toastmasters goes, we've all seen somebody, I love it, we've all seen somebody who's new, and when you ask them to introduce themselves, they can't speak, right? Or if they're new and they are picked to do table topics, and I'm thinking of one particular person from a long time ago, not here, in another club, who couldn't get past 20 seconds and just stood there for about a minute. 3 years later, he was presenting workshops in his industry at conventions. So the things that we accomplish here in this organization, why would we not want to share that? Right, and what did you call it when we talked about it on our little podcast? What did you call it about being selfish? Because you said if we don't offer something that we know is a good product and a good service, remember that? And you said,
About bringing them to a point of decision.
yeah, and if we don't ask, we're not doing a
Oh,
service.
the
Yeah,
quote that you'll miss 100% of the
Mhm.
shots you don't take. That
absolutely.
just came up in my last coaching call.
There you go. And how often do we go out and have the ability to share things? Or let me ask you all this, have you ever had a situation in anything? Well, if I'd known about that, I might have bought that. Or if I'd known about that, I might have come. So why are we not going to share the opportunity? And that's the word, it's an opportunity, right? Okay, so Sabrina, what about fear? What are your words of advice of getting over the fear of asking?
It's confidence, and sometimes confidence is not something that comes overnight, but I want you to think about, if this would answer the question, Beth, think about where you were when you were first asked to introduce yourself and where you are today. That was you overcoming your fear of just keep doing it, is keep asking. Ask everyone that you know. Think of your business. There are a lot of you with businesses, to go back to sponsorships, that could actually get a table and promote your business, your books. I mean, we have a lot of authors that would love that exposure, and just share it with us. It's not only us sharing what Toastmasters is, but it's what you are sharing with us. But it has to do with confidence, and it's doing it over and over and over again. And you will overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy. Rejection is not easy for anyone in sales will know that. Rejection is not easy. And when you get that first rejection, you just want to go crawl under a rock and never, ever ask again. But one of the things that I do and over the years have realized is you build that trust. And I don't sell. I don't tell you what price, I don't quote pricing. I don't do any of that. I listen to everything. I know you have a need because you came to me. I listen to everything you're telling me. And then I suggest things. I recommend. That's one of the things that you have to listen. You build that trust and you follow up. Always, always follow up.
On our sales and sponsorships, are there any particular questions, and I'm gonna direct it to you, Sabrina, but you guys jump in too, that we need to ask? What is like the first or second questions we should ask a prospect?
How much exposure is your business getting? And who are you promoting to? Just think of all the thousands of Toastmasters. If we are trying to sell Toastmasters sponsorships and we're going after businesses, let's ask them where they want their business to be promoted. Where would they like to see themselves? How many people, how much more revenue and business they would like to get. Just think of the exposure. We may not always buy, however, we may remember that Beth had a sponsorship table, and by golly, she was selling, I don't know, pink candies. And down the road, I may have an event that needs pink candies. Guess where I'm going? To Beth.
Excellent. Jared, any thoughts on that? Like the key questions that we should ask somebody we're approaching?
Yeah, just generally, what do you want to accomplish with this purchase? And if you've had any prior experiences with, say, specifically, it's print, it's physical marketing on a sponsorship, right? How's that worked for you in the past? Has this been a primary driver of what's brought people to you? Or is this more of a subtle marketing tactic where it's maybe not the biggest reason why you've got new people in, but you're basically reminding the community that you exist? It's more of like I'm using some of my discretionary marketing budget for this. Not like a vanity project, but more like this is supplemental. It's not directly going to be causation of more revenue, but it's adding to the bigger picture and complementing all my other stuff. So figuring out from them what it means to them and how effective or what it's done for them in the past is a big way to figure out how good they can be.